Ethan Brooks had learned to live without impressing anyone. As a single father raising his 8-year-old daughter, Mia, his priorities were simple: do honest work, pay the bills, and make sure his daughter never felt the absence of her mother too deeply every morning in Manhattan. Ethan prepared Mia's breakfast before taking her to school. Then he headed toward Carter and Coal Industries, one of New York's most prestigious corporate firms. From his first day, Ethan heard stories about Olivia Carter, the company's 38-year-old CEO. She was wealthy, intelligent, and famous for demanding perfection. Employees carefully watched their behavior whenever she entered the room. Some tried to impress her with expensive gifts, endless compliments, or exaggerated praise. Ethan did none of those things. He simply worked on his first week. Ethan noticed that several employees stayed late every evening because they were afraid to leave before Olivia did. Ethan didn't understand that mindset. He completed his assignments efficiently and left at 5 because Mia's school bus arrived at 5:30. One afternoon, Olivia walked through the department and stopped beside Ethan's desk. "Your report was excellent," she said. "Thank you." She waited for more. Ethan returned to his computer. Olivia raised an eyebrow. Most employees would have told her how much her approval meant to them. Ethan simply continued working. That's all she asked. Ethan looked up. Was there something else for the first time that day? Olivia smiled slightly. No. Nothing else. She walked away. But she kept thinking about him. Over the following weeks, Olivia noticed Ethan's unusual behavior. He never interrupted meetings to make himself look important. He never took credit for someone else's work. When executives argued, Ethan listened carefully and offered solutions only when necessary. One Monday morning, Olivia entered a conference room where several employees were discussing a major client problem. Everyone immediately began blaming each other. Ethan quietly opened his laptop. "What do you think?" Olivia asked him. Ethan studied the numbers for several seconds. "The problem isn't the team," he said. "The client changed their requirements 3 times. We need to renegotiate the timeline." Olivia looked impressed. "You're not worried about disagreeing with me?" Ethan shook his head. "You asked what I thought." That answer stayed with Olivia. Later that evening, she saw Ethan leaving the building, carrying his briefcase. "Leaving already?" "Yes, there's still work. I finished mine." Olivia looked surprised. "Where are you going?" "My daughter is waiting for me." She watched him walk toward the elevator. For years, Olivia had surrounded herself with people who wanted something from her. Ethan was different. He didn't care that she was a CEO. He didn't care that she was wealthy. He simply treated her like another human being, and somehow that bothered her far more than flattery ever had. Over the next few weeks, Olivia found herself noticing Ethan more often than she wanted to admit. It wasn't because he sought her attention. In fact, it was the opposite. Ethan continued doing his job, helping his coworkers, and leaving the office at a reasonable hour to be with Mia. One evening, a major client threatened to cancel a multi-million-dollar contract after a technical problem appeared in their system. The executive team panicked. Olivia called an emergency meeting. Everyone had a suggestion, but nobody had a solution. Ethan quietly studied the data. "Give me 20 minutes, he said. 20 minutes later, he discovered that the problem wasn't with the software. A recent client side update had caused the failure. Olivia stared at the screen. "You found it that quickly." Ethan shrugged. "It wasn't difficult. Once we looked in the right place, the client was saved and the entire team applauded him." Olivia smiled. "You just saved us millions." Ethan closed his laptop. "Glad I could help." He didn't ask for a bonus. He didn't ask for recognition. He simply packed his things and left. That night, Olivia couldn't stop thinking about him. The next morning, she placed a coffee on Ethan's desk. "He looked at it for me. Yes, thanks." Then he went back to work. Olivia waited. "That's it." Ethan looked up. "What else should I say?" She laughed despite herself. "You really are impossible." I've heard that before. Their relationship slowly changed. Olivia began joining Ethan and Mia for occasional lunches. At first, she told herself it was simply because she wanted to understand the man who had become so important to her company, but she soon realized it was more than that. One rainy evening, Olivia left the office late and saw Ethan outside the building. Mia stood beside him wearing a small yellow raincoat. Ethan held an umbrella over her, while getting completely soaked himself. Olivia watched from the entrance. Mia looked up at her father. "Daddy, you're getting wet." Ethan smiled. "That's okay. You're dry something inside?" Olivia softened. She had spent years believing success meant expensive cars, beautiful apartments and powerful connections. But Ethan seemed to have something she couldn't buy: a family, a purpose, and a quiet kind of happiness. The next day, Olivia finally asked him to meet her after work. "I need to tell you something." Ethan looked concerned. "Is there a problem?" "Yes," Olivia said, smiling nervously. He laughed. "What did I do?" "You never tried to impress me." Ethan smiled. "Because I never thought I needed to." Olivia took a breath. "That's exactly why I fell for you." Ethan stared at her for once. The man who always knew what to say was completely speechless. Then he smiled. "Maybe that's the best reason anyone's ever given me." Olivia reached for his hand, and for the first time, neither of them cared about her title, his job, or what anyone at the company might think. They simply chose each other,